Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. A great milestone today, Novedge webinar number 300. And I'm particularly pleased to share this milestone with Jonathan Pickup, who's the guy who got it all started. And we come kind of full circle. Today, Best Bits for Vectorworks 2019 by Jonathan Pickup. In this webinar, we're going to look at the best bits of Vectorworks, and Jonathan has assessed the new Vectorworks feature and has great feedback to share on the tools and techniques that he thinks are most important. As usual, Jonathan will take time to answer to your question, and this priceless interaction, I don't have to remind you, will allow you to optimize what Vectorworks has to offer. Let me tell you a little bit about Jonathan. Jonathan Pickup is an architect trained in New Zealand and also in the UK, and he has more than 30 years of experience. He has been writing and producing Vectorworks manuals and providing customer support for more than 15 years. His company, ArchonCAD, is the premier provider of third-party manuals and training resources for Vectorworks. He also runs the Vectorworks On-Line User Group and provides its main direction, and he'll tell you more about this, so stick around. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software, and we offer a huge assortment of software solutions. So not just Vectorworks, but everything that goes with Vectorworks. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, and we have great customer service. We always answer the phone. So don't hesitate to check us out at novedge.com. And you can also find us, of course, on all the social media out there, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, and, you know, we provide useful, we think, information and on latest 3D software release and promotions. And next week's webinar will be about CF4 Rhino. And as always, I'll record this webinar so you can find it again on Vimeo and YouTube. And now, the moment you were all waiting for, I'm going to share Jonathan's screen so it can take rightly over. Take it away.
Thank you, Barbara.
Jonathan.
Thanks, Barbara. I mean, I'm really pleased that we've, I've helped you to do 300 webinars. I still think it's a major achievement. So I'm going to talk about some of the best, or what I think are the best bits of Vectorworks 2019. I am not going to cover every new feature. So there are some new features that are small. There are some bug fixes. I'm not going to cover the entertainment features, but I'm going to cover the features which I think are really quite powerful. And I'm also going to show you how to manage some of these new features. There's a new way of putting for example, the tags on Windows, and I'm going to show that to you, and I'm going to actually explain how you can take control of it as well. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was the clip cube. Now, I hope everyone knows how to use the clip cube. We select a few things like this. I've got my clip cube here on my quick preferences. And if you haven't got it there already, it's this button over here, this arrow, and you choose Show Clip Cube. That will bring the clip cube preference up here to your quick preferences. When you activate the clip cube, it will put a clip cube around the selected objects. So because I had the chair selected and these other things selected, it puts the cube or the clip cube around there. If I select the clip cube, I can then move it. I can change where it's going. I can also change the angle of it using these dots here. So don't forget, you can actually twist the clip cube to align with your building if you need to. And I want to bring that down so I can see my lower floor and turn on my lower floor as well. So I've got this view here, and I really like it, and I want to show the client because it's really important how the client will appreciate the room, the kitchen, the interaction, the organization between up and downstairs. But when I try to make this into a viewport in Vectorworks 2018, it was actually very awkward. In 2019, with that clip cube shown, I can go View, and I can choose Create Viewport, and Vectorworks will use that clip cube to help create my viewport. Now I have a layer already for this. Let's go OK, and there is my rendered view. Well, it's not actually rendered yet. So when I update that, what you should notice is that the entire building disappears and we're just left with the bit that is the clip cube, which I thought was pretty cool. I reckon this is going to be a fantastic way of helping clients to understand what you're talking about with your spaces, because you can hide all the spaces except for the bits that you really want. If we right click, and I'm going to choose edit. Now normally I just go straight to design layer, but I need to show you something on the dialog box. When I go to edit, this is the normal edit window, and for most people this turns up when they double click on a viewport. Now it doesn't for me, because I have changed this option here, because I quite often edit the annotations. So later on you'll actually see me jump in and out of viewports without bringing up this dialog box, because I activate this option here to edit the annotations. Anyway, I want to edit the design layer, but what I want to do is I want to activate this button here, navigate back to the viewport, and I want to display it with the clip cube. So OK, takes us back to our design layer. There's our clip cube, and we've decided that we'd like to show more of this end of the building so the client can appreciate how this is going to work, and we're going to pull this down so that the client can really see the indoor-outdoor flow. And let's return back to our viewport. Now I'm going to update that, and my view should update, and I should see my new revised clip cube. So this is a really nice way so that you might be looking for cropping this viewport. The clip cube does a lot of that for you. If you still want to crop the clip cube viewport, you can still do that by going edit crop, and then you can draw a shape that you might want. So let's draw a freehand shape, because we don't want to see the downstairs very much. And there it is. So you can actually just still use the crop, but the clip cube does this three-dimensional cut, which is actually pretty cool. Now, I think I've actually changed this on my computer. Now, you might also notice that this is slightly fuzzy. The reason it's fuzzy is because when I set up my sheet layer, I didn't change the raster rendering. So if I make that 300, OK, and then update my view, you'll see that my rendered view comes out a lot crisper. Just have to wait for that to finish. There it is. So it's a lot crisper. Now, you might notice that my clip cube, I've got the gray fill on all of my clip cube objects. So let's just have a look at this. It's down here, Vectorworks Preferences, and we're looking for interactive and interactive appearance settings. So there's an interactive appearance setting which I've changed, this one here. This is normally a bright red color, and so all of your clip cube edges are red, and I've changed it. This is one of those little subtle changes that you just forget is in there, but it allows me to change my clip cube edges to a nice gray color instead of that rather bold red color. So I think this is kind of a big improvement, this ability to create your clip cube viewport, which I think is pretty cool. So let's go to something else that I want to cover. This one here, this viewport here, I'm just going to do something to this. So this is a viewport which I've set up. It's a rendered view. I've got two views of the same part of the building, and I'm going to turn off the image effects. The image effects allow you to change the exposure, the color temperature, the shadows, the highlights, the edges of your rendered view much more easily. So let's just have a look at changing this to a Renderworks style. I'm not sure if I've got a fast one. Exterior fast. Maybe this one will do. And we'll just update that, because this will work on several different rendering types. So let's just we got that one updated. So that one's going to update. So you might notice that it takes a little while to update it. Then if we wanted to change things like the color temperature, the exposure, or add more lights, we would normally have to go back to our design layer and add more lights to it. But what we tend to do is to add more lights, come back to our viewport, have another look at it. Is that what we wanted? yes, no, go back to our design layer, change the lights, change the temperature of the lights. That's a lot of work, and you can waste an awful lot of time. So when this finishes, I'm going to show you how you can change this and make it much quicker. So I've got on my object info palette down here, there's going to be an option here to apply image effects. Now the image effects are going to allow us to change the exposure, as I said, and you'll see it's really, really quick. So I'm just going to be quiet while we wait for that to finish. It's nearly done. All right, Barbara, so it's getting there. Because I can't do anything until it finishes. This is my image effects button here.
I know, but it looks
okay,
great.
So there we are. So let's have a look at our image effects. So if I turn off the image effects, you can see there's a slight change. Let's turn that back on, and let's have a look at our image effects. And so now what I can do is I can play with my exposure. And it's instant. Play with the contrast, play with the highlights, play with the shadows, or I can reset and bring it back to normal. So if I go reset and apply, that was the standard image effects. And then I can click on this again. I can say, well, I'd actually like to drop the exposure down a little bit to show a little bit more light and shade. I want to have a bit more contrast to this. I'd actually like to make it a little bit warmer, the color temperature. Well, why don't we just make it black and white? Or increase the saturation so that the colors become much brighter. And you can see I don't need to update that viewport. That change is instant. It's not beautiful, I understand that, but it is instant, and it means that you can quickly change your renders without having to go through the whole process of going back to the design layer, back to the render, back to the design layer, and so on. These also are saved. So if I go back to image effects, I can save the setting. Here's one I created earlier, landscape, and apply that. And so I've changed this. Now this one, so there it is. So it doesn't have to re-render, but that's a setting that I saved earlier. I can just choose it, and it's applied straight away to that. Now those settings are not saved in the file. The settings are saved in your computer, probably in your user folder. I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's in your user folder, which means that the settings you save on this computer will be different from the settings saved on another computer. If you're using a shared area, but my guess is it's probably in the user folder. I just haven't looked at it. But I thought that was pretty cool, that ability to have these rendered views and to change the color temperature. There's a huge difference between these two. I don't know if you noticed, but they actually did start out as exactly the same rendering, and I've just played with them. The Eyedropper tool now has the ability to suck up the image effects from one viewport and stick it onto another. So you can suck up that, stick it on that, and it should change those two viewports straight away. So those are two things I thought were really quite useful. Real increase in our graphic presentation, speeding up the way we work, and I think they're really cool. Now, those of you that know me know that I've got rules about classes and layers, and not having classes or layers that I really need. So Barbara, let's leave that image effects. We're moving on to another topic. There's a couple of questions. Can you save the settings for new renderings? I think I've already covered that one, that's saved on the computer that you're working on. And the image effects, if I save it and a colleague of mine opens it in another computer, he will see the same rendered view, but he won't see it as a saved setting. But he can save that setting on his computer if he wants. Okay, so let's have a look here. Now you might notice I have a lot of classes, and it's actually kind of a challenge sometimes when I'm looking for a particular class to scroll down through all of these looking for a particular class. Now I know if I was doing revisions, I could click here and I could hit the letter R and I could scroll down to the first R, then the next one, so it's stuck there. But there's a new thing in Vectorworks, and that's the ability to search. So if I go REV, you'll notice that it doesn't just scroll me down to the area where those revisions are. It actually filters out everything except classes that start or include the 3 letters REV for revision. I'm just too lazy to write the whole word, and I don't need to, it just finds them. So for example, if I wanted to find site information or site, I can type the word site, hit the enter key, and it filters all of my classes so I can just see the classes that relate to site. This is really powerful, I reckon, because I do a lot of work with quite large, lots of classes, I should say, and it's always a real pain to try to find the classes you're looking for, and you scroll up and down, and it's just, this is going to speed me up a lot. So let's get rid of that. So as well as the ability to search, Vectorworks has included the ability to create filters. So I want to see all visible classes, I want to see all grade classes. Now these classes, or these filters that I've got at the top here with the chevron around them, or the arrow bracket, they are provided by Vectorworks. These ones down the bottom here are ones that I have made. So I've made one called walls, and it'll find all the classes that relate to my walls. Now you might be surprised to see that I've got doors turning up at the same time I've got walls. I'm going to come back and show you that. Details, it's all, so when I'm creating details, I might want to hide all the classes that have no relationship to creating details so that I can just see the detail classes. So let's see how we actually make these. There's all of my classes, and there's a lot of them. So what we have is this ability to create filters, and we have the ability to manage filters. So the first thing you can do is you can say, I want to create a new filter, and the filter will look for something. What should we look for? I've already got details, I've already got site, I've got walls, structure. Structure. So the class is, so we're going to name it structure. So what we're going to look for? We're going to look for a class that starts with the word structure. Cool. Well, I haven't got any, so it's not going to find it. How about structural? Well, there is a structural class. So I've got a lot of information that starts with the word structural, which is quite cool. But when I'm working with my structural information, maybe I also want to have walls included. Well, I can't do that. Because I've said here that it starts with the word structural. I need a different way of doing it, but let's carry on with that one. I'll call that structural, and we'll save that because that's just an example of what we could do. And okay. But when I'm dealing with things that are structural, maybe I need to also see my doors, maybe I also need to see my windows, maybe I need to see my walls as well. So maybe we need to have something, another way of filtering other than just the name of the class. So I'm going to find structural, enter, where's my structural? Here they are, here. So structural, let's go right click. We have the ability to assign tags. So if I assign a tag to this class, I can enter a tag and I can call it structure. Structure. And I add, and okay. So that should have applied it to all of these. If I assign tags here, that should have applied it to everything from there down. Let me just have a look here. Assign tags, yeah, that's got structure. Maybe I didn't do it to the top part here. Let's do that again. Assign tags. We want to choose tags from a list, structure, okay, and hopefully that's assigned it to all of these. Yeah, so it's assigned to all of those. Now I can make a filter that looks for those things. So we can do it to the structure, we can do it to the walls. Let's find all of our wall classes here. So we don't want detail, we want all of our wall components here. Let's assign tags to that and select from a list, structure, and okay. So you might notice that what I've done is I've selected the top of my hierarchy. That's the word wall. So that should have applied the tag to all of these. Now if it hasn't, I'm just going to do it slightly differently. and I'm just going to select all of those and assign the tags to all of them. Now it says here that they've actually all got structure on them, so I don't know why that's not there. Just make sure structure is there. Okay. So over here you can see it blinking. It's assigning my tags to all those classes. So now what I can do is I can create a filter. This is a new structure filter. And this structure filter is not going to look for any classes. It's going to look for a tag that includes structure. So this will pick up walls, it'll pick up structural objects, it could pick up doors if I want to add those, and structure things. Okay. So now I've got this extra filter. So that's the strategy behind that. Now you can also do the same thing with layers. We can add tags to layers. So when we assign tags, we can pick them from the list. And I've got some here for site, building, floor 1, floor 2. So if I want to, I can filter my layers and I can go show me the ground floor, and it just shows me the ground floor layers. I just don't have enough layers to make it worthwhile, that's all. But classes, I really need more control over classes. So now that I've done that, I should be able to click here and go structural things. And you can see I've got balconies and I've got floors, and I can work on my kind of entire building, but I can turn off everything that's not structural. Someone's asked if the tag and filters within your document save in your computer. I can't remember, I'm sorry. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I don't remember whether it saves it in the computer or whether it saves it with the file. I guess there's an easy way to find out. Let's just go to plant tags here, and we'll do a quick one on this one. And I think I've got a feeling it might just be the file. So let's create a tag here. Let's assign a tag, select from the list. So you can see this list is empty because there aren't any tags in this file. So it saves them in the file. So the idea would be, if you've got a file, put these tags in your template. Build your template out of one of these projects that you've done it, so that those tags are actually in your template file. So I just think this is going to be extremely useful, this ability to have these tags, because as you saw, I have loads and loads of classes. And so I want to deal with walls, I want to deal with doors, I want to deal with details, and it just shortens my list, so it's much easier for me to find the things that I want. Now, the layering class filtering is quite useful, because if we go on to my sections, I've got a section here. So here's a section through my building. Now they've made a change to the sections in Vectorworks. Now there are two parts to this. There's the section that they've changed. So this is a section viewport. It's just a standard Vectorworks section viewport. But they've also created a new section viewport, which is a horizontal section viewport. Now I haven't got one to show you, but I'm going to show you through the section viewport what the sort of changes are likely to be. Now the reason I haven't got a horizontal section viewport is I haven't got a building that actually shows it really well, and so I just didn't bother making one. But what I'd like to show you is what changes they've made to both the horizontal sections and the vertical section viewports. And there's a new tick box here at the bottom of your object info palette to display extents beyond the cut plane. Now I think this was already here, but this new one here to display the extents before the cut plane. So if we have a look at this section here with the handrail running through it, that handrail is actually the other side of my cut plane. So let's turn that off and we'll update our viewport. You notice the handrail's gone missing. And the reason for that is that this cut plane of my section is halfway between my handrail and my doors. So let's go back down to that. We want to display the extents before the cut plane. So we have the ability to control our objects. And if you have a look here, we've got a long list of classes. And this is where the filter starts to become quite useful, because if I go to walls, it'll filter me to the wall type things where I can find the classes that I want. I don't want to create a new filter. I want that to be all classes. and I'm looking for a balustrade wall, this one here. So this balustrade wall is that handrail that I showed you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this. So I want this, normally this would be on none and it won't show up ever. I want this to be on hidden line. I'm going to turn these objects so that I've got a specific line type. I want to have a dash style 2. I want this to be a gray line, so I'll line it up with that purple one, the cyan, and I want it to be a thin line. I'm going to do the same for the dashed hidden line as well. So we're going to do line type under there, and this line type is going to be dash 2, and the thin line again. Okay, okay. Now I'm going to update my viewport. And now you can see I've got my dashed handrail that's behind me is now visible, which I think is going to be a really cool trick, because there's lots of things that you'd want to show people so that you can check the heights of things, you can check the way things line up. You know, it's going to be kind of a neat trick, but you don't want to show everything that's behind you. And you're going to be able to show things based on their class, which means that you're going to need to be very careful about the classes you use, because if you're not, you're going to have things showing up that you didn't want to see. So are there any questions about that? Because that's going to be quite a powerful trick. Now, when you first try this out, don't be surprised if it doesn't make sense the way things are working. It took me a little while to get used to turning the class on, setting those options, and then updating the viewport to make sure that they turn up. If you've got things that have got multiple classes, for example, if you've got door objects that have got a class for the overall door and class for the components of the door, you have to turn all of those on in order to see them. Actually, Barbara, I'm quite surprised. I thought we were going to have quite a lot more question about that.
I know.
So in simple terms, what is a horizontal section? The reality is, John, that the horizontal section is very similar to your regular top plan. It's just that you're going to have the ability to create those extra options. So I'll try to make one. I just don't think you'll see much difference, that's all. So floor, there's my floor 1. We're going to go view, create horizontal section viewport. So this is what it looks like, John. It's a section viewport. So it looks like a section viewport. We can name it. We can put it on a layer. We can choose the extents. But this is where it becomes a little bit different from a normal plan viewport. And that is that we have the ability to display the extents below the cut plane, and also to display the extents of objects above the cut plane. Now, I thought it would be quite handy if we could call it, sorry, I was just looking at your comment, a plan section. Yes, John, it's exactly what it is. Now, I thought it might be good for reflected ceiling planes, James, but it turned, Vectorworks said that that wasn't their intention. I think that's what they said to me. But I think that's one of the things that they're going to make it easier to make these as reflected ceiling plane type things. At the moment, you can certainly try it, but you need to have classes. So again, we're going to use classes. I'd have to make sure I've got tight control over these, and I'd want to turn my slab. So, you know, do I want to turn my slab on, the slab existing? And then, James, I've actually got the problem where maybe I've used the same class for my slab above as my slab below, and now I need to be careful about my class structure. So it should give us more power over the section, the horizontal plane. We should be able to control exactly what elevation it's cut at. Let's have a look at advanced section properties. Display, that looks the same. So as I said, I don't have one that I can show you that I've actually thought about and calculated accurately. But James, if you just have a look here, it's got a cut plane elevation of 4 feet 11 inches relative to the first floor. And I can change that and make it 1500 millimeters, which is probably what it was, relative to the story first floor. So I can actually choose where it's cutting through. And because I'm choosing where it's cutting through, as I said, I still need to play with this, but I would hope that you can then control which windows and doors are visible in the cut plane so that clerestories do not show up in your plan view, which would be really cool. I think my own personal feeling about this is that the horizontal section viewports are going to be our plan viewports, but we need to learn how to use them really well. They're just, because of these options here and because we can have the extents above and we can have all these different display options, I think it's going to take us a little bit to get used to it, that's all. So let's cancel that. I would like to look at a brand new blank file. So new blank file. So one of the things that comes up with me quite often is I import information from other people, surveyors, details, manufacturers, that kind of thing. And so what I need is a file that I can import, and it's over here on my other screen. So I'm going to drag the survey file into Vectorworks. There it is there. There's my survey file. Now this dialog box has changed, and at DXF and DWG importing changes just about every version of Vectorworks. They keep constantly improving it, which is really nice. So we think that they've detected units which are meters, which is correct, so it's from a surveyor. Let's look at our advanced. Now, the location is different. So this advanced button here is, I think, is new, because this new screen is brand new. So our location, that's the same as it was. Conversion, that's the same as it was. We're going to fit this to 1 to 1,000. Layers and classes is not the same as it was. Now what we can do with Vectorworks 2019 when we import is we can actually choose a mapping set so that we can say, I want to take the layers and classes from the surveyor and I want them to go into the classes that I'm choosing. So I'm going to choose their layers are going to go into my classes. Let's manage this. So what you might notice is that these are the Dxf layers that the surveyor has given me, and these are my choices. Now someone's going to ask me where it stores these, and I haven't checked. So I think it might be on my computer. I don't think it's in this file because this file's a brand new blank file. So probably if I go to my other Macintosh, I'll find that I don't have the same mapping set available. So let's go to none. So that's what I would have got. So in other words, I would end up with all of my surveyors classes imported into my file. Since I've got one here, let's try that one. It's only going to control one of those. I've got another one here for my survey, and it controls all of them. And so I've got this building survey here is coming out on the none class. I can choose a different class. I could choose one of these classes that already exists, or if I wanted to, I might have to manage that and I might have to add a class. So the class name would be site buildings. If I got buildings. Let's add that and we'll save it. Now you'll notice that it saved, so I'm going to give it the same name. I'm going to replace the one that's already there. Okay, and here let's choose ArchonCAD survey. And I think this must be a bug because it's actually made those all go away. So let's go back to that. Building, and I should have buildings there. That's better. And we'll save that again. So I've now resaved it. So now my buildings should come out on that class. So let's go OK. And we're going to go OK again. And OK. So that should have imported my stuff correctly, and we should notice on my object info palette, sorry, on my navigation palette here, that we actually have none of the surveyors classes, we just have my classes. And I think this is going to be it's not pretty, it's not, you know, it's not amazing, but it's a really useful, powerful feature, I think. I think we always had this ability under tools to use class and layer mapping, but I think a lot of people found that complicated or confusing, whereas I think importing it directly into your saved set is just going to save you a few steps. It's nice and easy to remember, and I think that's going to be a real benefit. So not a wow, but really, really useful. Let's go back to my architectural plan. I'm going to have a look at a bathroom drawing. Cool, there we are. So there's my bathroom, and it's using internal viewports, and I've got a toilet here, and it's not showing the 3D view of the toilet. Not only is it not showing the 3D view of the toilet, but I can choose the level of detail that I'm showing. If I choose high level detail and update that viewport, we should see extra information on that toilet seat. So you can see there's the toilet seat. I've now got this detail level when I create viewports as to what I'm going to see. Do I want to see high level detail or low level detail of information? And what Vectorworks have done is to make a massive change to the way we work with symbols. I need my resource manager. And I need to find that toilet. It's a Dxf toilet. It's this one here. Now, I think most people are familiar with the concept of hybrid symbols in Vectorworks. So let me just, there's a couple of questions about the DXF. Oh, there's a couple of questions here, Barbara. Let's just go back over these. Does the cut plane only work in story? I don't think it only works in stories. If you've set your file up with stories, then it certainly will. And if you have no stories, now the file I showed you actually uses stories, so I can't show you a file without. But I suspect that it will work regardless of whether you use stories or not. But the file that I showed you, it did the, because it had stories, then it could give you the cut plane elevation relative to stories. The attributes of the imported layers put into classes, or do they keep the original attributes? I'd actually chosen the original to leave the original attributes, but I could have mapped them all. I could have mapped their line weights. I could also have mapped their classes. That hasn't changed in Vectorworks. And for the classes that I created, I don't think it automatically chooses the, because you're creating the classes, I don't think I saw anywhere that I can tell it what the graphic attributes of each class are. So I think when you import it, it won't automatically do that, but I think later on, once you've imported them, you can actually go through and set those attributes yourself. So let's go and edit this toilet. So so what I was talking about was the hybrid nature of symbols. I think we're all familiar that you've got a 3D object and a 2D plan view, and so when you're in a 3D view, you see the 3D view of the model, and when you're in a top plan view, you see the 2D part. That's all going to change. We now have the ability to have a 2D part in our top view, in our bottom view, in our cut top and bottom, in our front view, in our back view, left, right, and so on. Now, there is a lot of work. If you wanted to put all of these in, there is a lot of work to do. There's no doubt. I've only done the front view. So there's my front view object there. And I think from memory, there's a little bit of a line there, which I was a bit sloppy with. Let's move that across. So that line there and that line there should be visible, not when we're on low view. Let's have a look at that one. Do I want that visible when I'm in a medium view? No. This one here should be visible when I'm in a medium or a high view. This bit here should be visible when I'm in a medium and a high view, and this one only high. We'll make that one high only as well. So now what I have is I have an ability for all of my objects to choose when they appear. Do I want them to appear in low detail, or do I want them to appear in high detail? So if you're a landscaper, let me think of it. Let me see if I can give you an example. Let's say you've got a picnic table and you've got a site plan at 1 to 200 scale. You might want that picnic table to be represented by, say, 3 rectangles. But when you get to a 1 to 50 plan of a hardscape, you might want that picnic table to be represented by each piece of timber in the picnic table. So you can choose to have an outline for low detail. So at 1 to 200, you have low detail. And when you get to the picnic table, you want to have high detail. So you turn all of those on. So let's just have a look here. So if I look at my toilet in low detail, that's what it looks like. If I look at it in medium detail, it looks like that. And if I look at it in high detail, you can see I've got extra lines. Now you might wonder how you're going to draw this thing if you don't know what the background looks like. So here I can see the 3D view. Just takes a little while, but there it is. So I can trace over this, or I can use convert copy to lines, I suppose, but I traced over it to create this outline. Let's have a look, and so let's just undo that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to a, do we want a left and right cut? Now I don't think I've got anything for my left and right cut. So even if I show it, there's nothing there. There it is, so it shows my toilet. And if I showed 3D, there it is. So I could trace over this and I could give it a solid fill so that when I cut through the toilet, I can create just a solid fill through that. Anyway, I only did the front view for this. So exit my symbol. Let's update that. And low detail, medium detail. I think I've undone all my changes. And high detail. So let's update that. So there's my high detail, medium detail, and so on. So that's I think that's going to be a really nice technique when you're cutting sections through the building to have these different levels of detail that you can show for different scales of work. And they are related just to the viewport. So if I drag a copy of this across here, let's make this one to 200 and update it. Now that's in the way, let's get rid of that. So there's my toilet, and this one here we might want to have high detail, and this one over here we might want to have low detail. And that would be my strategy, that you just add the things to the objects that you really want to use in this way. So I thought that might create some questions, but it appears not. Cool, so we're going to move on. So what's another thing that we need to talk about? Let's have a look at my elevations. So when we elevate a building at the moment, we can turn on our tags. Can I show you how to automatically generate the 2D from the 3D? I'll see if I can. So let's try doing a left view, shall we? And 3D model. Left, 3D. Let's see if we can see everything. This one already has it built. So this one's already been built. I don't know who built it. This was one of the standard Vectorworks objects, and it's already been built for me. So can I automatically generate it? Let's just delete that. And edit component location, show detail. So I'm not sure whether the create auto hybrid is going to do this for me. See create auto hybrid's not there. Oh, there it is, sorry. Right click away from everything, generate 2D from 3D component, wireframe, hidden line rendering. Let's see what that gives us. So that's given us its best guess. So that would be one way where you can quickly generate the line work from the 3D symbol. So I'm going to undo all of that because I want to put everything back and exit the symbol. So that's how you can do that. Automatically generate the 3D. Yes, William, I've done that. Do you know if Vectorworks have made symbol to have the details? I'm not sure I understand. Luke, I think I've answered your question. I'm just going to remove the questions which I think I've already answered so that I can keep a track of the questions as they are. And there's one question, do you know if Vectorworks has made symbol to have the details? Some of them have got the more details, some of them haven't. Okay, so let's move on to another topic. So we have the ability with Vectorworks doors and windows to have tags. And we also have, this is a landscape example. So one of the things I've noticed with my landscape clients is they quite often want to put the tags on the plants. So for example, this view here, it's a site plan. When they put the tags on, the tags actually end up being out of the way. So there's actually a class for this, which is plant tags. Plant component tags, that one there. Let's turn that on. And you'll see that some of the tags are there and some of them are not. You might find them hard to see, but there they are there. There's a tag there. And there's also a couple of tags here which are now outside my crop area. In order to see them, I've got to expand my crop area, which means it takes over my drawing. I don't want to see the site underneath and so on. So I'm going to turn those plant tags off. That one there. But the other problem is when I make the tags readable for that particular drawing, when I come to my next drawing, the hardscape plan, the tags are now too large and they're in the wrong place, so I can't see them. So what we need is a technique that will allow us to tag the plants when we want and pick up the information from each plant. If only there was a tool. Well, actually, Vectorworks have created this new tool. It's called the Data Tag Tool. And this Data Tag Tool is going to replace things like there used to be a tool for putting the date and the time on things. It's going to be used for putting window tags on elevations. We can put landscape tags for plants. We can use a tag for hardscape areas. It's really cool. So let's enter my viewport. Now you notice I told you before, I'm going to double click because I've already set my preferences, and I quickly jump into my viewport. I'm going to use my plant or my data tag tool, and now I need something to look for plants. So Vectorworks have given us a whole lot of tags already made. Let's just scroll down. There's one here for plants, and I want to use this one here. So it's going to give us the quantity in the circle, and it's going to give us the common name and the Latin name. Okay, so we've got a couple of options here. Label mode, single select object. This is the one I'm going to use. This is an important one. And this is the automatic, and this one will find all of the windows or all of the plants in the viewport. I don't want to use that one just yet. I'm going to place my tag, and then I'm going to move towards my object. So that's where I want my tag. I'm going to move near an object, and I click. And let's change this because it's on the wrong class. Let's do that again. So click on that one, that's that one, click, and that one. And you'll notice that I've accidentally picked up the same two plants. So I'm going to move that tag across there, but watch this. So I grab hold of the end of that tag, move it to the one that I want, and it picks up the other type of plant. So I want these to be maybe vertical. I want that one to be vertical, and this one would be nice if it was vertical. But the two tags don't line up. You can still use modify, align distribute, lead aligns, this still works. And I'm going to align the label point, so I can go click, click, and it'll line those two up. So now I have this much nicer way of dealing with the tags in my viewports, putting them exactly where I want. So if I want to tag other plants, back to my tag tool. So I want to tag this one, I want to tag this one, I want to tag that one. I don't know about you guys, but to me this looks real easy. So, okay to that. No questions about that, Barbara? I'm surprised. Okay, so let's go to my next plan, which is my hardscape plan. When we go to my hardscape plan, let's go into here and have a look. So I'd quite like to show the client or show the contractor what these ones are that are around, and because I'm not turning on the tags, I'm going to use this one, and I can put that tag there, and I can put this tag here, and then I can pick up my hardscape. So I can click here, let's find my hardscape tag, and I want to use that one, and I want to tag my hardscape objects. So I want to tag that one, I want to tag that one. And the neat trick is that these read the information through the viewport to the original design layer. If I make a change to these, they will update in the viewport. So the tag gets someone's asked, how does the tag get the name of the plants? Because these are actual plant objects that have data attached. So they know the common name, the Latin name, they know the spacing, and we can make that tag report all kinds of different things. So I'm going to go back to my architectural one, because I started off talking about the tags on windows. And you'll notice that this elevation here doesn't have any tags on the windows, because I would quite like to use this tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place some window tags. So I'm going to use my data tag tool. I'm going to use this mode. Yep. And I'm going to find a window tag. There's one here. I want to use the long one. So let's select that. And so if we have a look, I can just move near a window. So you'll notice that window highlights in red. There's also one on the other side of the wall which also highlights in red. So that's the tag for the window on the other side of the wall. This is the tag for the window on this side. So click, click. This window, just watch out which one, because there's a window on the other side of the wall. Click. So we can do it that way. Now someone's asking, does the tag only work with annotation? How about layers? It works everywhere. I'm showing it in annotations because I thought that would be a great way for you to understand the power of this tool. So you can't just use these in Viewport annotations, you can use them in other places. So you can use them on a design layer if you want. I've used a tag without a leader. You know, it has no leader line going to it. So what I'd like to show you though is how we can take control of this tag and make it our own. So let's look here in architectural. There's a window tag, this one here, right click and let's edit that. So the tag is using what's known as a style. So you might remember that if it's got this curving arrow, that the symbol definition is controlling the look of this everywhere in the drawing. And let's have a look at editing our tag. So if I want this to have a leader, I can turn the leader on. And because I've turned it on, these are all got the curving arrows. The choices I make here will affect every tag here. So I'm not going to turn on the leader. So let's edit the tag layout. So there's my tag layout. It's got a bit of text. I'm going to copy that text down here. And we have here on the object info palette a new thing here, which is to use dynamic text or not. So I'm going to change this because what I'd quite like this to have is the width of the window times the height. Now I've turned off the dynamic text here, which means that when I go exit the tag, all my tags will say height times width. What I'd like this to be is dynamic text. So let's have a look here. Let's use dynamic text. And there's a button here for defining the tag field. So my tag field, what does it want to show? So my tag field wants to show the width. So here's where we do a calculated field for the tag information. So we're going to pick up the object parameters. We're going to actually pick on an object. It's going to suck up the object things. What kind of object? It's a window. What parameter we want to look for? I hit the letter W first, so it's a width. Now, if you forget to click on Add to Definition, it won't work. Don't worry, I've already tried it. I know it doesn't work. Then I'm going to put a space, then an X, then another space, and now I'm going to look for the height. So I hit the letter H, height, Add to Definition. So now when I click OK, you don't see a difference. When I exit this, you'll see it's picked up all of the sizes of all of my windows. And so it reads each window individually. It picked up the window number from the window. It picked up the size from the window. So you can choose what information appears on your plant tag. You can also put classes inside that plant tag. So let's go back to this. Let's edit this. Let's edit our tag layout. And we'll change this and put on a different class. And if I haven't got one for this door, I got a door text. Let's put that on the door text class. Edit the tag layout. Okay, let's exit our viewport. So now what I should be able to do is I should be able to choose whether that door text appears or not. Door text. So the door text has vanished. Turn it back on, preview it. It all comes back okay, and I need to update it to finish. So let's have a look at my questions we've got here. The tags placed in the viewport annotations. Well, I'm pretty sure you can place them anywhere you want. This window tag, will it get the information from the object info palette that we give to that specific window without clicking on the thick show ID on schedule? I'm not sure I understand that. What do you mean by clicking on the thick show ID on schedule? If it should pick up the information on that window regardless, because I'm clicking on each individual window. Can you also measure, for example, the glass surface instead of the maximum size? So you want to know the area of the glass. If that's one of the options that you can grab from the window, I don't see why not. Let's go edit. Let's edit the tag layout. Let's copy that down here, and let's change that tag field. Let's delete all of those, and we want window. What's it called? Is it glazed area? Glazing thickness, glazing description, frame type. Any of these we can use. I just don't know which one we might want. Whether it's a clear story, whether it's a 2D. I didn't see area. Did anyone see area there? Fan light. ID tag, on schedule, whether it's on the schedule or not. So all these things can be reported. The model number, the manufacturer, the opening angle, the overall width, overall area. I think the glazing area is what I really want. Did I see sash glazing area? I don't think I did. But if it's in this list, I'm not going to look anymore for it. But if it's in that list, then you can do it. Let's exit that. So I think that these are going to be really powerful because you can choose to put them on plans, you can put them in elevations. Oh, there was something I wanted to show you. Let's edit that elevation in place. So you know we can edit elevations in place, and we can do things like grab hold of this window, and we can move that. I just want to move the window, not the wall. So we've decided that it will look better if we move that window there, and if we move that window there. And when we return to the viewport, notice that my window tags have actually moved. They're actually linked to the windows. If I change the window number, they will update here. If I move the windows, they will move here. So I think that's really powerful. Let's have a look. So someone said in the past I could only do this through do this object data through a worksheet. Yeah, they really like it. I think it's really powerful. Can you measure the glass surface? If it's there, sure. If you have tags in both layer and annotation, does this conflict on the worksheet schedule? I think it won't show up because the plant tags, sorry, the tags, well, the way you find a window in the worksheet is you say find objects with information attached. I don't think the information attaches to this object. I think it looks for the information and reports it. So no, it shouldn't do that. Could tags be used to call out materials on the elevations by reading the wall cladding? I don't see why not, William. It's supposed to do all kinds of stuff. Let's have a look at our tag. Now there are some wall tags that come with Vectorworks. Let's just have a look down here. There's a wall tag. There are different wall tags with leader. Let's choose that one. And will it find a wall? Let's try it from here to there. Maybe this one won't work in plan view, in my viewport, but it should certainly work in my plan view to pick up the materials. I've only played with these on the elevations and in the landscape things. Let's just have a look, see if we can find floor 2, plan view, and see if we can use that tag to grab that wall. Now it's a wall tag with leader. You'd think that it would find that wall for me. So it's got no object definition. So I've done something, there's something different I've done with my walls that's causing it not to show up. I'm gonna go back to my window tag. Let's go back to this one here. And so I should still be able to do this with the window. I think maybe I've already done, have I already done this with my windows? No, that's just the ID tag. So I can now do this, and I've chosen this option here to tag all eligible objects, or do you just want to tag individual objects? So that one there. And if I had a different one with a leader, then I could choose to have a leader that went up to that one. And you notice that's exactly the same tag as we had before. So it's got that and it's got the width. I tend to make that the number and then the size of the lintel. That's just my personal preference. Column materials. So William, I think there should be. The ID tag in the object info palette. Flavio, we'll get the information from the object info. I didn't understand what you meant by the thick. So if I choose that window there, I've actually created a style, and my style is W01, and the label, I've actually turned everything off on my window style except for the ID label. That's the only thing I can change. So if I make this window 30, that's changed to 30, that's changed to 30. Let's make this one 31 so we can see the change on the elevation. If we go back to our elevation, we should see that's updated to 31. And there it is there. So I think it's really cool. And what's the next thing I want to talk about? The title block border. Oh yeah, this gets people all the time. And how are we getting on for time, Barbara? Are we going to run out of time? Oh,
a little bit, but if I'm okay with it, if you're okay. A lot of people are sticking around. Nobody practically left.
Well, then I'll make the title block border the last thing. I was going to show you site modeling, but that has changed a lot. The ability to create berms and swales and site models. And maybe, Barbara, we should just have a separate site model presentation.
It's a date.
Okay, so let's just have a look at our title block manager, because one of the things that my clients have talked about with the title block manager is that, or with title blocks, is revisions. How do we handle the revisions on this thing? So the title block manager, this is it here. It controls our project data and our sheet data, and this has been updated a little bit. So the change has been, those of you that are in Australia and New Zealand that you're using the VAA title block, your title blocks will automatically be converted to this new title block border tool. So we've got the project data, the sheet data, the revision data. Now this is one of the ones that really catches people. Roger, I'm not sure if you've had a problem with this one, but let's have a look. I can choose which sheets I want to apply my revisions to. This is a new button down the bottom here. Select sheets to use. There was a way of getting to it before, but it was a little bit complicated. I can also apply revisions to more than one project. So you'll notice that I'm applying revisions to my current architectural as well as my plant data. Let's just turn that off. So let's say, for example, we're going to update our plumbing and drainage. That's going to affect our site plan, our foundation plan. It's not going to affect floor 2. It's not going to affect our sections. It's not going to affect our roof, or those things. So now what we can do is can go OK, and that's applied just to those drawings. Then I can go add. Let's add something here. What's our revision? Barbara wants me to add this revision. Barbara didn't like my toilet plan, so I've had to replan my toilet because Barbara didn't like it. So we can go bathroom revised. Okay, so that's a knock-on effect. It's affected my site plan, my plumbing and drainage, all the rest of it. So we go OK, and you notice it's just applied it to those 3 revisions, which is really, really easy to do now. Okay, now I could apply revisions right across multiple drawings, multiple files if I wanted to. It is really, really quick to do. Let's just go to our site plan, I'll show you. And there's Barbara's, there's today. Those of you who don't know, I'm in tomorrow. And there's my bathroom revised. And that is really, really quick. So, Barbara, that's probably enough for today. We've covered quite a lot of ground.
Thank
Just
you.
before I go, I just want to remind people that my Vectorworks information modeling course for Vectorworks 2019 is now available. My foundation course is now available for 2019. And for those of you who don't subscribe to my monthly user group meetings, I think you should. I think the people that subscribe get a lot out of it. They love coming. And I was recently talking to people about next year and how we might run it next year. And everybody just loves coming to these online sessions, interactive. We hear each other, I record them, and there's just so much information on my website. It's the largest collection of training movies anywhere, I think. So thanks for having me, Barbara.
Yeah, I agree. It's a wonder. Your user groups are wonderful. I've a lot of people that witness to the great environment and help and the kick they get by hanging out with you. So yeah, check it out. I will take shortly. I will take the screen back just to make sure you know that this webinar has been recorded, so you can watch it on YouTube and Vimeo as early as later today. I want to thank you for attending and show you on the Novedge page where you can find Vectorworks. We always have great promotion. You can always talk us into giving you more discount. You should try, you never know. And I want to remind you that you can follow us on all the social media where we have all the updates and all the promotions. Next week, we'll have a webinar on Thea Render for Rhino. And I'll see you back on YouTube and Vimeo with this recorded webinar. And on to next 300 webinar in the next future. Let's see, if we can get as high as we can. Thank you so much, Jonathan, and have a great day. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.